how are you? Oh my goodness, I love the backdrop. I love the backdrop.
Thank
All
you.
right, Laura, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell them about your latest book.
Well, my name is Laura Henry Pugh, and I've been in the financial world for many years, it's probably pushing between 40 and 45 years. So I've always worked in the finance area. And I'm going to go back a little bit with what Linda and Joan. One of the things that really opened my eyes and really knowing and understanding that a lot of people need to understand where their finances are
Mhm.
was when my husband passed away. And
Yeah.
that was 4.5 years ago. And knowing some of the struggles that I had getting things straightened out because we didn't have our financial house totally in order. We had it a little bit. And one of the things that he had in place was life insurance outside of his work. And I'm going to emphasize that because if it wasn't for that, because right after he passed, that's when COVID hit. If it would have just been his group life insurance, I might have lost the house and the car
Wow.
because I wasn't able to go back to work due to COVID.
Yeah.
So, and he was the main breadwinner. This is where my eyes really got opened up. Once as they talk about the grieving process, the up and down,
Yeah.
my father passed away just a few months later. So my grief was kind of going in and out.
Mhm.
And so that's one of the reasons why I started writing about financial books to help people understand not to wait until it's too late. Um,
We always think we got time. We got time. We don't necessarily have to talk about this right now. We have time. But it is so important. And one of the things I realized, Laura, is that we are not a lot of the stuff we are just not taught. It's not taught in schools. It's not taught in the home. It's not taught. And I know one of the things that you talk about a lot is budgeting.
yes.
What are some of the keys that we need to know? And I know this book is written, but before we get to that, this book is written for who?
This is written for ones that are in their late 20s on up until their early 40s. And the reason I did that is because that's when life is really getting busy. They're finishing school or they've gotten out of school, they've started a job, they've gotten married, they've bought a house. They're not thinking in the future, they're thinking the here and now. And then when something happens, they're like, oops, and they're starting over.
Absolutely. Listen, guys, if Laura's book is a perfect gift for your adult children who they are adulting, and I hear my adult children complain about adulting all the time. It's like this adulting thing is hard. But they need to understand this because I know when I think back, man, if I knew then what I know now, when I was in my
Yes.
20s and 30s, oh my goodness. Talk to us about some of those key fundamentals of budgeting that you cover in your book. That bad B word, because we don't like
Well,
that word.
and and I don't like using budgeting because it does have a negative undertone to it. You can think of it as maybe your cash flow because when you're thinking of budgeting, we're thinking, here's what I'm budgeting, this is what's actual. Oops, I messed up. And then you start getting talking bad about yourself. I could
Yeah,
have done this, could have
yeah,
done that.
yeah.
I teach it more of, let's don't put your budget in. The first thing you need to do is, how much are you spending anyway? So just keep track of what you're spending.
So
How
just
much is,
understanding your cash flow, because we think that budgeting is a choice. Like, okay, well, I messed up, so I'm not gonna deal with money going in and out. But cash flow is happening whether you budget or not, whether the numbers add up or match.
right? Because you have to know where your income is coming from. Because you can have, and one of the things that's in the book that has not been in my other books is I talk a little bit about maximizing your income potential. Because with
Okay.
the economy today, what is the worst thing is you're running out of money faster than what you have. And so I kind of give a couple of tips on how to maximize, whether if you're working in a job or maybe you want to start some side hustles to get that income flowing. So once you know where your income is coming in, then you're looking at how much are you spending. And first of all, you need to go with just your basics, your rent, your mortgage, your car. Those are your set limits
Hmm.
of what it is. Your utilities may fluctuate a little bit, but you can halfway anticipate. So once you get through with that, my question is how much are you spending on coffee? I mean, I don't go out buying the expensive coffee, but I'm going to give you a little tidbit. My daughter does on a regular basis. But that's where some of that money goes. And then what about your streaming services? How many streaming services do you have? And I'm including not only television, but what about your audio, your music? How
They
many of
add
that
up.
could
Oh
you?
my goodness.
I mean, when you put that all together,
Mm-hmm.
do you really need all of it?
Mm.
And when you're young, when you're not really thinking about retirement, you usually start thinking about that when you hit your mid 40s and realize, oh,
Oh.
wow. Well, by then, you're not really looking. I want people to be able to plan on their future. Do you want to take a good vacation or do you just want to go somewhere for the weekend and go, there's my vacation?
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
want to take a cruise? Can you do without those little things to reach what you really want? So when you're looking at the budgeting, and it's really, what do you want in the long run? Do you want to take a good vacation? Do you want to be able to put your children through college? You have to have a game plan in place. I mean, any sports, they just don't go out on the field and go, let's play. They have to prepare.
Yeah.
They watch, you know, videos from the other team to kind of get an idea of how they play.
Mm-hmm.
We need to win in our finances. And this is what this book is all about. Let's don't take it for granted that unfortunately we could not plan on COVID, but we don't know if it's something like that's going to happen again,
Right.
or
Absolutely.
what happens if you have a serious illness, injury. Do you have anything in place, or is that going to make you go bankrupt?
Mm.
And GoFundMe is not insurance.
I was thinking the exact same thing when you just said it. I was like, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. Say it again. Say it again.
GoFundMe is not insurance.
It is not. It is not.
And one of the other things is because we get so busy, we have, if we work for another company, then we've got that group life and we have a little bit. But you have to understand, if you have children, do you have any type of insurance for them?
Yeah.
you can get the health insurance a lot of times through your work, but what
Hmm.
happens if you're running your own company?
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you have all that in place. And also need to have the life insurance with that too, because, and there's health stuff that you can include with your life insurance as far as living benefits and long-term care. But that way you're making sure that if something, and we don't like to think about it, especially when it comes to our children,
Yeah.
but we have to be prepared for the unexpected. And
Yeah.
that's the stuff that we do not talk about. And that's one of the reasons why I also have my certification in the behavioral side of money. Because when we cannot admit that we do things a certain way,
Hmm.
then we cannot make that change. And we only learn from what our parents taught or and their parents taught them.
Yes.
So we have to learn to maximize our income by learning more.
I think that, and that part I think is really powerful. I think a lot of times when we think about financial management, financial planning, all of that. We think about, okay, how am I going to cut expenses? And we get discouraged and we lose motivation because it's like, oh my goodness, I can't do anything. I'm just always cutting, cutting, cutting. But the fact that you're talking about maximizing your income, maximizing your revenue, especially during this time. I mean, we are in an amazing time. Okay. When for those of us who are, over 40, over 50, over 60, we remember a time where, we didn't have the opportunities that we have now.
Correct.
You can make money very easily. And I say easily, not meaning that it's not necessarily hard or hard work or things you have to do, but 20 years ago, you couldn't get paid to deliver food in your car. You couldn't get paid to take people somewhere. So there's so many ways that you can maximize your income now. And now that you have a plan, if you have a plan,
Mhm.
then you can do those things. And it doesn't seem like, it's not as hard.
Correct.
Laura, tell people how they can get the book, how they can get in touch with you, because you are a certified financial, all of that. Listen, so if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, Laura, you said something about insurance. I need to get that straight. Call Laura, she can help you. If you're sitting there thinking about, man, those, just that financial planning stuff and retirement, I need to get on that. Call Laura, she can help you. Okay. How can they get in touch with you? How can they get the book?
Well, of course, you can get the book on Amazon. And you can get in touch with me by email, which is Laura, Laura, at lhpventures.com. And most of my social media, if you look up LHP Ventures, you can find me on Facebook, um, Instagram. I even started a TikTok. So, so all that is under the LHP Venture. So you can find me on most of the social medias.
Yeah. Now we'll talk about that free gift because I know one of the things that Laura talked about, I think it may have been in your first book or part of just your testimonial of when you were dealing with your stuff
Yes,
is the documents.
correct.
Where are the darn documents? And when you are dealing with grief, when you are even without dealing with grief, do you know where all the important documents are? Laura, tell us a little bit about that and how they can get your special gift that will give them a checklist of those documents that they need to know, where is that?
Okay. To get the documents, it's lhpventures.com/important document.
Okay, and she'll put the link here in the chat, and we'll make sure to put it out there on Facebook and with the recording as well.
Yeah. And the document, because let's say for any reason you're not at home, or if you were in an accident or, a death in the family, and you need to know where some of these documents are. We're talking about bank accounts. Where's your bank accounts at? Where is your retirement accounts at? It's all that to be able to list in this document where they're located. So that way somebody can actually go and get those documents. And that way, if you're under so much pressure and stress, you're not thinking about it, you may not even remember. If you know where that one piece of paper is, then somebody can actually help you pull whatever documents that you need.
Absolutely. All right, Laura, thank you so much. Now, you have been with us through 3 books,
Three
and I'm
books.
going to ask you, how has this class helped you?
Well, it's the accountability. You help us stay on track. And even if we get a little behind, you're going, that's okay. Schedule more time.
Yep.
So you help us keep that accountability to make sure that we have it done. And most of all, if we come across any problems or troubles in doing any of it, you're there to help us. So I don't think I could have done this, even with my 3rd book, without your help.
Oh, thank you. Well, you did an amazing job.